It's recording.
Is it recording?
Yep.
Okay, good to go. All right, good evening, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started with our July 27, 2026 regular city commission meeting starting at 6 p.m. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, no announcements this evening, so we'll move on to approval of the agenda. What's the pleasure of the commission?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Support. All right, Abby, call the roll.
Mayor Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Fernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorolla?
Yes.
Commissioner Ulrey?
Yes.
Commissioner Ventney?
Yes. All right, now for public comment. This is for items on the consent agenda or items not on our agenda. Please come up to the podium, state your name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
My name is Jimmy Fastiggi. I live down at 516 Lions Park Drive. And I just wanted to bring it to the attention of the city that I think that you need to put a double yellow line down the middle of Elm Street between Lake Street and Lions Park Drive. I watch every day as probably 80% of the people drive on the left side of the road as if it's a one-way. Or they drive down the middle of the road. And there's no sidewalk on that side, on the south side of Elm Street. So it's really quite dangerous, and I'm surprised there hasn't been a serious accident at this point, because if they're driving down the left side of the road really fast and someone's coming around Lions Park Drive, guess what? It's going to be very serious. It's a simple thing, and just put a double yellow line down the middle of the road. Just wanted to bring it to your attention.
Will you say the street names again?
Elm Street between Lake and Lions Park Drive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Below the bluff.
Mhm.
I can also provide you with video of showing you just how it looks. I have some, but I can send it to you.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment?
Sandra Mason, 819 Columbia Avenue. I've had actually a couple questions. I read a lot about this housing shortage we're supposed to have. What precisely is your source document for that?
You can ask your questions. We'll take note of them. I'm not
Okay.
guaranteeing we'll get answers for you tonight, but go ahead and give us your questions.
Okay, that was number one. Number two, has Attorney Schmidt approved or seen the survey that you've put out for planning ADUs? That was like a yes, no.
I don't know the
Yes.
answer to that. And
Attorney Schmidt?
we'll take your questions. We're not going to use this for a Q&A, but we can get answers to you after the fact.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay. And then finally, my question is, as a resident who's been here a number of years, I hear a great deal about concerns for downtown, and I hear a great deal about concerns for tourists who don't live here, and I hear a great deal about concerns for people who you think potentially might want to live here. I just wonder, as some of these decisions are being made, does anybody say, what about the people who live here? What about the people who live here and pay taxes, just want to mind their own business and access their downtown and their beach? I don't ever hear that. So thank you. I hope you'll consider it.
Thank you. And we also, is it in the back of the room? We have a comments form. If you do want to put that in writing, you can submit it. You got one? Okay, thank you.
Sandra, if you could leave that with us, because it has your contact information. I know where to find you, but having your phone number and all that would be helpful.
Any other public comment? All right. Moving on to the consent agenda, items include meeting minutes of July 13th, 2026, new board appointment, invoice and tax disbursements, St. Joe Housing Commission monthly updates for May and June of 2026, quarterly investment report, Public Act 20, automated external defibrillators, equipment purchase, 1575 John Deere terrain cut. Special event application for the pumpkin raffle, St. Joe Kiwanis Service Foundation charitable gaming license, waiver of conflict, and Vineyard 2121 offsite tasting room license and social district request. What is the pleasure of the commission?
I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
All right, Abby, call the roll.
Commissioner Fernandez,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorolla,
Yes.
Commissioner Olry,
Yes.
Commissioner Vetni,
Yes.
Mayor Thomas.
Yes. All right, on to new business, Sandbar Amplified Music.
I don't like this podium here myself. I like it in the corner. During the April 27, 2026 commission meeting, the Sandbar Grill located at 2701 Lakeshore Drive was granted permission for amplified sound until 11:30 PM on 16 dates from June 2026 until September 2026. Tom Jennings, the owner of the Sandbar Grill, is present here today to talk further about it. He's requesting 4 additional dates, all on Fridays. Will be August 7th, August 4th. The first one's gone.
It was 6, now it's
Oh.
5.
August 7th, August 14th, August 28th, September 11th, and Emily?
What?
So there's 5 dates. I only have 4. The city's ordinance
Okay.
restricts amplified sound after 10 PM, and Mr. Jennings has asked for amplified sound until 11:30 PM. To note, on Saturday, July 18th, staff received 3 voicemails from residents with concerns about the amplified sound ordinance. Public Safety this past weekend has did decimal readings on Saturday for the sound at the Sandbar, but we only have 1 date of decimal readings on that. And Mr. Jennings, are you present that you want to say anything else?
While Mr. Jennings is coming up, I'll just clarify the dates that he's requesting. It's Friday, July 31st, Friday, August 7th, Friday, August 14th, Friday, August 28th, and Friday, September 11th. He had also wanted this past Friday, which of course we couldn't get in front of you. And that's where the confusion came in.
And before he starts, what was your finding when you did the decibel testing?
You move over. Yes. From the southern point near Dunham, during the band, it was 72. From the east entrance, we had 79. From the southernmost by Strikers, it was 64. And by the Westview Apartments, it was 79. 65 is about the average during the, that you don't want to go over.
Is that part of our ordinance? Do we have a cap?
No.
Our ordinance, we are going to review our ordinance on decimal readings.
Okay.
At this current time.
So our ordinance does not have a decibel limit. We do have some guidelines for motor vehicles, which roughly say a motor vehicle would be at about 88 dBA, whatever that stands for. And so, or 95. There's some different categories. So if you take that in comparison to the numbers that Steve just gave you, that's what we have right now.
Okay.
We do need to make something more specific into our ordinance.
And Mr. Jennings, you had more you wanted to add, please?
When I came for the commission back originally, there was some confusion. I had asked for all the dates. My fault for not being more clear. Those are the dates that I had already booked bands, and I had given the police chief a sample of the kind of bands that we had. So it wasn't a complete list, but my original intention was to do it between July 4th weekend up to September 12th, which culminating with the Y Store great band on September 12th. So it was not, I'm not asking really for additional dates. It was within my original request, except but by virtue of the fact that I gave him all the dates with the names of the bands that I had already booked, that's where the confusion comes. It's my fault that I didn't make that more clear.
Okay. Anything further?
Nevertheless, so far we've had 3 weeks. So far, we haven't had any issues, and people seem to be enjoying it. So hopefully we can carry on. It is a lot of expense. We put a new fence up. That was $25,000. So there's a lot that goes into that, a lot of setup. It's more labor love than money. So,
Okay. Any questions from the commission?
Yeah, either for Emily or Steve, the three complaints that we
Yeah.
had, were they decibel level or were they duration?
So, yeah, I wanted to chime in on that. We have not had public safety receive any sort of formal complaints, but we have received multiple emails. They were all targeted to not January, Saturday, July 18th. And I think that there were a combination of things that were happening. One was that I think that some of the folks in the neighborhood nearby weren't clear on the cutoff time. At the same time, my understanding from talking to Mr. Jennings after the fact was that the band ended at 11:30, but the radio continued longer, which all music should cut off at 11:30, whether it's live music or not. We didn't have decibel readings, so since that time, we have implemented a new procedure. When there's live music, we're going to be taking regular decibel readings to proactively see if it's over. We
Right.
don't have that. So there was one night out of the however many nights have happened so far
Yeah.
where there were issues. But again, because it didn't come into public safety, we weren't able to get out there with the decibel reader.
And Tom, you're clear going forward. It's all amplified music, be it through,
just to be on, in the past, we did run, after the band quit, we did run amplified music. So to create a lack of confusion, we just stopped the recorded music too, so.
yeah, because I think that's what we approved was that the amplified music, whether it was live or
Right.
recorded, stop at 11:30. So just want to make sure we're clear on that.
So we'll stop, so to speak. at 11:30.
Do we have a policy, if the music continues to happen after 11:30?
I don't know if we have a policy as much as a precedent, which is, oh, we have a policy.
We have an ordinance. After 11:30, you'd be cited by not following our ordinance on amplified music.
And
Well,
what's the consequence?
Be a civil infraction. He would have to appear in court.
What I was going to add to that is, correct me if I'm wrong, we have revoked permission in the past. So the other thing that this commission can do and has done is, we can approve this and then come back together if there are sustained issues and remove it.
You'll have your,
So-
You'll have public comment.
Just like,
there are individuals in the audience that have made complaints to me that are present today.
right.
I think it's.
So can we do that this year or do we have to wait till next year? What happens if we have?
So in the past, and I'm going to let Lori chime in because I wasn't here when that happened, my understanding is that the commission has approved extended noise ordinance for specific dates, has run into issues and has come back and removed those specific dates. So said, you did 2 of your 8 and it didn't go well and you don't get your remaining 6. So it can be revoked. Anything you'd add to
I
that?
think as part of the approval process, that's normally what it's made very clear to the applicant that as long as you abide by this and there aren't issues, if there are problems that are generated, whether it's continuing beyond that or the limit's just way too high, there's an opportunity to come back before the commission and, a public hearing sort of process, but not quite so formal. But yes, the permission can be revoked because it's an exception to the ordinance that the commission is granting in the first place, so.
And we don't have to wait for our commission meeting, meaning if it happens like twice before our meeting, we can call a meeting and handle that.
Sure, you could always call a special meeting for that purpose.
Just checking.
It's great questions.
Kind of to build on that, one thing that's kind of highlighted is, my opinion of what is too loud might be different, from what Mayor Thomas is or Commissioner Sorola's, so I think one thing that, this is kind of really illustrated is some kind of an objective measure like a decibel rating is a policy improvement that I think will just help us better administer this thing, going forward and make that hopefully easier from a public safety perspective to, just use that and have that, built into an ordinance that we can then enforce, so looking forward to, something based on, reasonable, comparable community data, of what's a good limit for this type of thing. The question that I think barring, the confusion, I think one thing worth noting is, the first time that we had approved Mr. Jennings's request 2 years ago, you were giving us 12 dates based on what you were allowed to do outside as dictated to you by the Michigan State Liquor Commission, right? My understanding is that that has evolved. State legislation has kind of shifted that, with some of the site improvements and upgrades to your fencing, there is more that the Michigan State Liquor Commission would allow you to do on premise, which I think, has led to that's why we have more than 12 days that you are asking us for. So there's added flexibility. I hear a lot of hunger for things to do, from people, so I like that we had approved, these nights, this extension. And I look forward to, the process improvement so we can better enforce this. I'd like to approve this. This is not any different, than what we've already, done. So I would be supportive of this, but also look forward to, having a decibel rating so that we can improve our own ordinance.
Yeah, and I'm glad to hear the public safety will be doing that proactively. We'd rather hear that than wait for a complaint.
I mean, we want to do these things, but we also want to be reasonable. And I think having a decibel rating that we can point to will allow us to, get along with the neighbors, get along, with everything. It's we can coexist that way. So
I think we already went out on a limb with what we've already approved, and it was 10, and then we went to 11, we went to 11:30, something like that in the
I
past.
think it was 11, to the best of my memory, it was 11 in 2024, extended to 11:30 in 2025, and then 11:30 again this year, with the difference being, I believe last year still had the cap of 12 dates, and this year we approved 14.
Yep. So I think this extension is a privilege that we were allowing for a certain amount of time. And given that there was already a weekend where it went past with amplified music, I'm kind of dissatisfied to hear that there's, the neighborhood, this is in a very residential area. And so we took a risk allowing this. I'm a little hesitant to add additional dates at this point, just because we already have it in place. It's affecting the neighbors. We're getting complaints. And so I'm just concerned that adding more would be more of a detriment to the neighborhood than bringing more
I think
loud music to the
the
neighborhood.
key is, you need to have reasonable decibel limits. And the reality is, we don't have that today, and I don't see a reason why we can't, set a reasonable decibel limit to allow these types of things, I'm not just thinking of how this applies to this specific in Sandbar. And certainly I think there's definitely some learning to have happened, from the incident. I certainly would hope there's no more confusion with the difference between live and recorded music, right? There's 11:30 is the cutoff, all types. That's workable, right? We don't have a decibel limit to officially point to and say, and that is something that we as a city lack. We can, I think we need to move and give direction to establish that limit. And once we have that limit set, that is a reasonable decibel limit. Why not allow music within those reasonable limits? The thing we lack today, and why I would be concerned as a neighbor as well, and I live a block away from the Sandbar. Without a decibel limit, yeah, I'd be a little nervous to just allow stuff later in the night. But if there's a limit that we can enforce as a city, that's what we need to be able to allow this to happen. But that's what we lack enforcement wise. And we've identified that. We can craft an ordinance to give ourselves the ability to enforce it. But that's how I think you move forward, is make an ordinance to allow it.
You're proposing approve tonight without the decibel level.
I would propose that we, regardless of whether or not we propose this, to direct our staff to bring before us a decibel limit ordinance. That's something that Sandbar or any other site, we just need that to be able to enforce this type of behavior, in our city. That direction applies regardless of these specific dates, but knowing that we are going to develop that, these specific dates are all on Fridays that we have already approved the Saturdays, that go after them. they are weekends, it's reasonable, and knowing that we are about to have a decibel limit, I don't imagine that that's going to be the hardest and longest policy to, put into place. I say we move forward.
I do just want to point out that there is an ordinance on excessive noise, so we do have something that we can enforce and we can cite if there are violations from it. It doesn't have a specific decibel limit.
Sure.
Right.
And ordinance is going to take time, even though it seems simple. There are a lot of nuances to it, and so it's not something that would be in effect before all these dates are passed.
We're a little
So-
Policy or ordinance?
The ordinance. It
Okay.
takes 2 readings.
Yeah.
We need to do a little research to
Yeah.
find out what's reasonable. It's
could-
where do you measure the decibel limit from?
Yeah.
And
We could
Tom-
make it part of the agreement, though, tonight, if it were to go tonight
Mhm.
for an ordinance to be, crafted and introduced in the future.
Yeah.
But we could, we could make it, based on that decibel level and the DBA to be determined in the next few days, based on some research. I mean, I've done some quick research right here, and typical city restrictions are 50 to 85 decibels during the day and 45 to 65 at night, according to national standards, not national standards, but national averages.
Yeah,
And we could do a little bit more quick research, but we could
Mhm.
make the motion.
Certainly any approvals of this, Mr. Jennings' expectation would be that you would be below, excessive noise ordinance, would cause us to have to enforce upon you, right? Keep it down.
Yeah, if I may, I think I have a pretty good relationship with police department. And we do a pretty good job of policing activities there, both in terms of taking care of guests. And also, it's not as if the police don't ever come to the Sandbar and talk to me about something. If they did come over, I'm receptive to discussing whatever that is, whether it be a person needing to ride home or a person or too loud sound and someone complaining. It's not like you can't find me because I'm there when we're open, especially on weekends.
And I know this has come up previously, and I'm not saying this to pretend like there aren't other issues, but Tom has been a great partner. I mean, I know Steve says when they need to go out there, he very quickly will turn the music down, and that's, historically over a number of years. So to his credit, that does not mean everything's perfect and the neighbors are happy, but Tom has been a great receptive partner.
Yeah.
What type of equipment do you use to measure the decibel?
We purchased a decibel reader probably 4 years ago for issues we had on Lions Park Drive and Lake Boulevard,
How expensive is a piece of equipment like that?
$50.
Maybe, Tom, it'd be smart for you to have one. And I think the key here is, I appreciate the fact, and I've had a lot of interaction with you. You're always cooperative, and I know you'll turn it down. But I think we need to get to a point in this where we don't have to tell you to turn it down.
Mhm.
Because I think that now all of a sudden people have already been agitated. So if you can police that yourself, I mean, we're trying to help you and be a good partner here, but we need the reciprocal from you. And maybe that's a piece of equipment you should buy, and you should make the bands aware, and maybe you can make kind of something funny out of it and put an illustration on the stage. When it starts to approach 65, we're aiming towards a problem. But I think that would be really helpful for me to vote yes on this, if you did a little more self-policing.
I'd be happy to weigh in on the desk level too, if there was, in fact, if there's a need, I'd be more than happy to be part of it, because I think I'll research that. Normal conversation in a building like the Sandbar, I bet the decibel level would probably. In fact, I would buy one tomorrow.
After 11:30 PM on Saturday night, it was in the mid-50s, low 50s, mid-50s. So that's what it was at the Sandbar after the music stopped.
I mean, inside the building.
Yeah.
It's a normal conversation.
Yeah. Well, we wouldn't set a decibel level tonight, and we'd look at these averages, but that wouldn't be the determinant. It would be more information, but I think if you you know, if you would agree to do a little more self-policing, it would go a long way in making me support this. As opposed to having to have the police, they have better things to do. And the neighbors have better things to do than to make the call. So if we can get to a point where that doesn't happen, then I think everybody's gonna be happier.
And I'm by no means anti-music. I love live music. I love the fact that our community has this in a couple different locations throughout our town, south side and downtown. I think it brings a lot of vibrancy to our town. To your point, it shouldn't be on public safety to have to monitor, or even the residents to make a phone call at 11:45 and say there's still amplified music. That should be taken care of. It should not be anyone's phone call to City Hall or emails to us. It should just be a done thing. And I thought we had made that pretty clear when we went out on a limb last time and approved these things. So that's where I'm hesitant to approve additional dates at this point, because it was clear from the get-go, and the residents are having to now weigh in on it. Any other, I mean, we can take a motion. I do want to hear some public comment on it before we close this up, but any other questions or
We
comments?
could just approve a couple and see how it goes and then do.
I think.
But I agree with you.
Yeah.
This is not your first summer. I mean, I've been to a couple of your concerts and I love it, have a great time. But you put us, the commission and the city, in an awkward situation because we want you to have it, but we also we don't appreciate lots of emails and phone calls.
If we approve them all, we can still revoke this at any time, correct?
Mhm.
So
Yep.
that just, my only thought is that allows Tom, if he doesn't have a hard date, now he's on the hook for,
Mhm.
you know, it's better for him to know that he's got these bands booked and he can execute the contract with them, also understanding if you violate the terms of the ordinance, it's gonna get revoked. That, I mean, that should take care of it.
I think
It really does
there's,
seem to me like this, like the decibel definition is key in this right
Yeah.
now too, because I know it's hard and like, I used to live right by the high school, right? And so sometimes even my experience of how I heard things at the high school was different than the people that were
Sure.
across the street from me or something else. So I think that that's gonna help us level set on our side of the commission, on Tom's side, on the neighborhood side, if we can measure that. It's excessive noise is such a, it's so nebulous.
We want to make that something that's not subjective, like an objective decibel limit, so that,
Absolutely,
you know,
yeah.
what I think is louder at Mike's house is going to sound a little different than at my house, for example.
When you
So-
measure, oh, sorry, I thought you're done.
Go ahead.
When you measure, do you measure at the same spot? So you have the same constant? Okay.
Yeah, I think if we set that, that helps everybody, including you.
Mhm.
It gives you a metric to follow. So I hope if whoever makes a motion, if there is a motion in favor, that we include some of the detail we talked about in the motion.
Yeah,
Which
in
is
particular,
which is beyond what's, yeah,
Yeah, and the revocation, and make it very clear what would
Yeah.
be determined a violation sufficient to revoke.
yeah.
Lori, would we have to name that decibel number now?
I don't think we have enough information
Okay.
to do that. I think there needs to be a little bit of research on that to, we haven't had the opportunity to
Yeah.
really get into that, so.
Yeah, the motion could include a decibel level to be determined, and I
Mhm.
think we could determine that in the next couple of days, don't you think?
Yeah, I think staff would have to just gather the information quickly and.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's available, other municipalities have that, and that's pretty common, I think, especially in these the tourist towns up and down the lake.
yeah, Steve and I have already started
Somebody else has
looking
one.
at what other communities have.
Yeah.
So we can certainly do that. Is that something you're picturing, a motion that we would then share a number with Tom before Friday? Or are
I
you
think we'd have to
picturing a
share-
motion that we would bring a number back here?
I think we would need to share that number with Tom by Friday. I don't think that it's,
That's what I think.
Okay,
Yep, I
just
agree.
want to make sure I'm
because if
clear.
not, we're leaving one more weekend
Yep.
that's kind of open to
I agree.
Yep. everyone's interpretation.
I would like the residents to know what the noise
Mhm.
level is, so they know
Mhm.
what's allowed, what's not.
Everybody's gonna have a decibel reader.
Yes.
Oh, it's even gonna help when we have lots of other music other places too. I think that
Yeah.
overall
Oh,
it's just a
absolutely.
helpful tool for everybody.
Agreed.
All right. Let's take a stab at this. So I would like to make a motion to provide conditional approval.
Public comment will come after the motion.
Yeah. I would like to make a motion to provide conditional approval for the sandbar to allow amplified music until 11:30 on the dates as presented, conditional upon the applicant's compliance with any and all future ordinances regulating decibel levels and contingent upon continued compliance with all existing City of St. Joseph ordinances. I think that covers.
Can you
It's not an
add-
ordinance. I think
Yeah,
that's the problem.
we won't have an ordinance because that would require two
Same with the other
readings.
ordinances, including the time.
So he's got to comply with, yeah, what I'm trying to communicate is he's got to comply with all existing ordinances, but conditional upon compliance with a decibel limit recommendation to be provided at a later date by the city manager with the review
Great.
of the city attorney.
Support.
Do you want to add to ask city to work on the ordinance for next year?
Well, I think that's a
We got it.
given,
We got it?
given
Just
this.
got
Yeah, just
Okay,
direct staff for that.
perfect. So you do, does that capture all the direction
I
you
think that
need to
captures
move in our?
everything. Yeah, with that
All right.
addition.
Okay, we will now take public comment. If you want to come on up, same thing as before, name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
I'm Catherine Clary Sanford, and I live at 219 South Sunny Bank. So I live in the neighborhood right across the street from the Sandbar. One of the things I haven't complained or called earlier because the list of concerts were listed in the paper, and I thought that was a done deal. So it was already approved, the 22 concerts. I called to find out what I could do about next year. The noise really, it depends on which way the wind is blowing.
Yeah.
That's with the music, but the bass, the beating, the drumming is constant. And it's till 11:30, sometimes 11:45, sometimes going close to midnight. A lot of people in my neighborhood had the same feeling I did, that it was already a done deal. And, you know, why will we call? A couple of them said, it's been so hot, we've had our air conditioning on, so we haven't been outside. But the last cool nights, you can't open your windows or your screen doors or sit outside to enjoy the cool weather. And it's every Friday and Saturday night. So it is disruptive to the neighborhood. I actually thought it was supposed to be 10 o'clock. And then when it was 11 o'clock and I have a headache and it's 11:30, it's like, when is this drumming going to stop? I love St. Joe. I want to invite families and friends over, but on weekends, Fridays and Saturdays now with the Sandbar, I can't enjoy inside my house, let alone outside my house. So I enjoy music. I'm a drummer myself, but it is disruptive to the neighborhood. And I think if the people knew that how valuable their input was and that it wasn't already a done deal because of what had been published, you might hear more from people going forward. I'm not sure. So I'm happy with what's been approved. And my suggestion is to not go forward with additional dates because it's every Friday and Saturday all the way through September. That's our summer here. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Other public comment?
My name is Jim Brooks. My wife and I live at 206 Vale Court. We're very much in the neighborhood where the Sandbar operates. I'm here in opposition to the approval of any additional dates. And the main reason I'm here in opposition is to support my neighbors. My neighbors have come to me and talked to us about this. We're not so dramatically affected because we have the apartment building behind our house and 5 homes between us and the Sandbar. But last Saturday night, we were entertaining a family trying to sit out and the bass just thumps. And again, we're a long way from it. So primarily, my wife and I are here tonight to support our neighbors who are really struggling with this. Just a brief comment, Commissioner Fernandez, you mentioned that you lived about a block away. I think it's a long block away. And if I'm not mistaken, you're on the south side of the bandstand. The bandstand faces north. The south side of the bandstand is not impacted like we are on the north. I think I'm right in saying that. Am I? Continue. So anyway, that's all I have to say. We're here in support of our neighbors.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Coming up.
Hi, Steve Gerber, 322 Kingsley Avenue, St. Joseph, Michigan. I'm here to support Tom Jennings and what he's doing. Now, I live on Kingsley Avenue. The stage faces directly toward my house. I live about 120 yards, just a little bit, a football field plus. And I got to tell you, unless the wind is, blowing the right way, I don't hear anything. Yet his stage is directly back. It's right there. So if the wind direction's good, I don't hear anything. If it's the right wind direction, I might hear a little bit, but it's not anything real obscene, or it's not, doing anything to me or anything like that. Matter of fact, my biggest complaint is the high schoolers with their loud mufflers go zooming by my house, and it's obnoxious as hell. And I would rather see something done about that than Tom Jennings and his live music. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Ann Barnes, 608 Market Street. Tom is great for the community. And what he's doing is great, but I have a suggestion after hearing these folks speak. Perhaps Tom should also consider the beat, if that's constant, maybe there's something you could tweak with your bands, because if it goes on and on, it starts to drive people crazy. It really does. And it's their home. So if there's a way you can tweak it so that it's not quite so constant and loud and carries, that would probably go a long way. So thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Sure. Yeah.
I believe they may be, this is a letter I got today from
Thank you.
customer. I want to get along with the neighbors. In fact, South Sunnybank and those streets are pretty important to our business. Those people come to our restaurant a lot. So I'm not trying to alienate them in any way. And I think the one sound guy was doing some testing and was messing around with the lights, and frankly might have been running late this base to see the lights after 11:30. In the past, we had recorded music, nobody complained, and we play after the band was done. We were playing sound at a lower volume, but now I'm not going to do that anymore. So that should be resolved. But that may be what that beat that this neighbor is speaking of. And I'm happy to talk to the neighbors. They're welcome to come. Jim's played pool many times at the Sandbar. So if anyone that wants to come over and chat with me anytime, I'm more than welcome to carry on a conversation with them or go to their house. I've actually been in a neighbor's house one time who said it was too loud, and I couldn't, admittedly, as I sat down in his living room, I couldn't hear anything. So.
Okay. Any further questions or comments from the commission?
Honestly, I think just hearing, thank you all for the, the public comments. I think what we've heard, just kind of furthers our own discussion of we really, really need an objective decibel rating. That's what we lacked, because that is going to be the only way that we can, to have, these things at a reasonable level and manage them so that it's not a judgment call. There's so many variables between, the amount of trees, between directions, it's just too much, but a reasonable standard. And, I thank you guys for coming out and, giving us your input that, I think has been deeply beneficial to, staff and hearing, straight from you guys and kind of allowing it to direct our comments. And as we, develop those policies, there's going to be additional ways that you guys can chime in and see those, and future ordinances we'll go through a process. So I like where we're heading is all I want to say after hearing what I've heard.
We have a motion and a second. We will call the roll. Abby?
Commissioner Sorolla,
Yes.
Commissioner Ulrey,
Yes.
Commissioner Betney,
Yes.
Mayor Thomas,
No.
Commissioner Fernandez.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. We'll move on to our next order of business, which is the city commission meeting date change.
So I guess this is my agenda item, but really for you guys to talk through. We have a conflict for our meeting our next meeting, which is in 2 weeks, Monday, August 10th. One of the commissioners is unable to make it and asked if we could look at an alternative date, ideally later in the week. So looking to see if that is something that can work for the rest of the commission and if the group can land on a date that can work for everyone.
Calendars?
In full disclosure, fellow commissioners, I'm the one that, I have a conflict that was planned about a year and a half ago, and could not avoid it. So having that, meeting coming up that day and just knowing, over the past couple of years, we've rescheduled meetings for various reasons or called special meetings. I wanted to run it by the rest of you to see if you'd be open to moving our regular meeting to a different day anytime that same week, to allow me to be here.
We're looking at the
Make
weeks.
things
Go ahead.
more sticky. I'm not available the rest of the week.
If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So.
Yeah. I have availability, but I think we keep it the same what does everyone else think?
Yeah, I'm available on Wednesday. I know it was a date that was talked about, but I would agree if it causes somebody else not to be there, then I think it's counterproductive. I
Right.
think then we stay with the schedule. And would be great if we could accommodate it. I think particularly given, I think that agenda might have some robust items on it. So it would be great if we could accommodate having everyone here, but yeah, I think we can't move it if it causes somebody else to miss.
Right.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Same.
Further thoughts?
Yeah, I could do Tuesday or Wednesday of that week, but
Okay. Well, we will keep it on the 10th then.
Okay.
And that's your final answer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No action.
Quick and easy.
Okay. That moves us along to reports. We've got the projects with debt update.
Can you pull up that,
Yeah, I am trying to do that.
while that's happening? So it's just a report. I wanted to give you an update of where we are. We've talked about these projects during the fee schedule or the water fee rate setting in the budgets. The first ones I want to update you about are the two big projects. It looks like after years of trying, we were finally going to be funded with the state revolving fund, which is huge news. The CSL storage phase 2, we have a loan up to $21 million. We are budgeting 17.6, so that's plenty to cover. We assumed it would be a 3.5-ish% loan, and it'll be 275 if we are funded, which is great. And we're going to bump up the Hawthorne lift station to the same timing because it's a component of that application. And we had pushed that off, if you remember, to free up cash to have a lower rate. So that's also great news. And then the big one is the lead service replacement loan of $5 million with 500 grand debt forgiveness. We're only going to pay interest on 4.5. That's also huge news. The one oddball one is the Main Street project. That's a project at $11.8 million. We're going to have $3.5 million coming back for road grant to offset the road portion, but the water funds are going to need about 5.2-ish. We're still unsure about how we're going to do that, so there'll be more news to come that way. And then the presentation that we're going to look at is the WSGOB AMI presentation. You're going to have your own, so I don't want to rehash is what you're going to see in the future, but I do want to go over what we talked about. The WSGOB approved this project, so we're in the next phase is to bring it to you for approval. And when we do that, we'll have some more details. Emily, if you can go to the page, the first portion is the project from a vendor or the presentation from a vendor, which you will see your own version of. It's the first, that's the first schedule with the 5%. A little more. Right there. So this is the business case for this project. If we go through the columns really quick, the calculated water pickup is the amount of additional revenue we'll gain from this project. If you remember, when we install new meters, it's like a brownfield. We'll have an increase in revenue with the same water flow. The next column is the operation and maintenance cost avoidance. That's when we have to do a reread or there's troubleshooting the meters or meter reading. The future cost avoidance is the handheld actually meters themselves. And that all together is the total benefit column. Then we have a debt service column, which will be different. I'll show you a couple of versions of that. Then we have the software expense, which is we're going to have software for meters to talk through our system. Then we have a column for future meter and radio replacement, and that is kind of double counted already because we already account for that in our budget. And if you remember, I put extra money into our budget, not anticipating AMI. I did the budget with no AMI in it. And all that together gets you a total annual cost. Then the green column is the net cash flow, so that's the gain of revenue less than the expense. And then the last column is the future cumulative cash flow, which at the end of the day, the idea is to have that column be positive, and it is. So let's talk a little bit about some scenarios we looked at. There are 3 schedules just like this. There's a 5% increase, a 7.5% increase, and a 10%. So the idea is when you replace a meter, you will get an increase in accuracy. We don't know exactly what that is. So we've decided to go with the most conservative value of 5%. The next table is a 7.5%, and the one after that is 10. Other scenarios we looked at is the different funding scenarios. And I'll go over these in another schedule later on. But we ran 18 scenarios, one with a revenue bond for the city, a general obligation bond through the city, and one through the county. And then we also looked at 10, 15, and 20-year loans. So on this table you're looking at now, the green column says net cash flow, that $5.4 million. The idea is that's what we're going to, after the end of the project, that's what we're going to be, a positive 5.4 million. So that's how these tables work, okay? Can you go to the next slide, please? The next one is 7.5%, and this is more realistic. This is not as conservative. This is probably what we're going to see. Anywhere from 7, 8-ish% of a gain when you replace a meter. That's the type of improvement we'll see. This is probably a more likely scenario, but I wanted to focus on the more conservative one. At the end of this day, it's $7.4-ish million gain. And then the last one is 10%, which is probably a best case scenario, $9.4 million. That's the these tables provide the business case for this project. Then the next slide is the borrowing scenarios. And what we're recommending is going through the county for a 15-year loan with 0 down. It turns out the county and us have the same rating. If we were to do this project on our own, we'd have to be re-rated. And there's a slight risk that we would be rated lower than we are now. It's a small risk, but it still exists. If we went through the county, they would also be re-rated, but their risk of being rated lower than we are is less. So it's less risky to go with them. If you add all that together, you'll see the green 15-year Berrien County, $9.5 million. That is what we're recommending. If you go to the top where it says SJC general obligation, you'll see that 15-year is very close to what we are. It's actually 0.01%. So the cost to go with a lower risk is very minimal. That's why we're recommending going through the county. And then the next slide is just a summary of the different scenarios through the county with the different efficiency gains in the 15 versus 20-year loan. And we're recommending the 15-year because it is not that much more expensive than the 20, and it fits within the tables we were looking at before almost perfectly, in my opinion. So this is that project. This is where we're going to replace the meters. When we replace the meters, the old meters will get an efficiency gain. That efficiency gain added up over the life of the project will generate more money than we have now. And this is what we're going to ask for approval for. And you'll see your own presentation when we have some more details.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
I don't have any at this time.
I have one quick question. We're talking about efficiency gain and accuracy.
Yeah.
Is it always that the old meters underbill? Is there cases where they overbill?
So typically, the little wheel inside the meter will slow down. It begins to wobble.
Okay.
Or some other way is affected and allows water to go through it without being read. It will always be an improvement. But what we don't know is the exact amount. Is it 5, 7.5, or 10?
Mhm.
What we know from our experience when we do meters out in our system, our own, when we replace a customer's meter that's old and they immediately notice an increase, that's because the new meter is more accurate.
Okay, thank you.
There is a small chance, and that's why we have the different scenarios where we won't see a gain as much as we expect. It's going to be more than 5%. We don't know how much more.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? That was just an update you're giving us.
Yeah, you'll get your
Yeah.
own I just want to get you, WSGOB approved it, so the next step is to come here. We'll get your own presentation, and that's forthcoming.
I appreciate the lower risk of, utilizing the, county relationship to, reapply if it's, less risky and less likely that,
Especially
they will be
since it's
reassessed and
so
lose
close,
the rating.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I, appreciate the partnership there.
3/107%.
Yeah, it's very, very small.
Right. All right,
Okay.
thank you, Ben.
Yep.
All right, that is going to take us to our last item, last report with Abby, August primary election reminder.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a quick update on elections. So early voting began this last Saturday, July 25th. It runs for 9 days until August 2nd. Any St. Joseph City resident who would like to vote early can do so at our early voting site at Lake Charter Township in Bridgman. Election day is August 4th. Polls are open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. It's not too late to pick up an absentee ballot. You can request an absentee ballot online. You can stop in to pick one up in person by visiting City Hall. And the last day we can mail you a ballot is this Friday, July 31st by 5 p.m. We will be open here at City Hall this coming Saturday from 7 a.m. until 3 p.m. for any election-related business, registration, pick up an absentee ballot. We will be here, I think I already said that, till 3. And if you, the last chance to stop in to pick up an absentee ballot, so which would be in person. So Friday, we could mail you one. If you still want to get one after Friday, you can stop in up till Monday. 4 o'clock is the cutoff time to pick up an absentee ballot. If you need to drop that ballot off yet, you have until Election Day to drop it off. The closer it gets to Election Day, I always encourage people to drop it off in a drop box, turn it into City Hall. So, and as always, if you have questions, call us. We're happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. All right, on to city manager comments.
I just want to give a quick rundown of some upcoming events. Still very busy in the summer season. Wednesday, we have a brown bag concert at noon and family night in the plaza in the evening. Friday is a Friday night concert at 7 p.m. Saturday is Movies in the Park, a Minecraft movie at 7:30 p.m. Sunday is St. Joe Today Antiques on the Bluff, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., and a municipal band concert at 7 p.m. And of course, all throughout the weekend is Chalk the Block, beginning Friday and going through Sunday. So looking forward to that and really hoping that the weather holds out.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any commission comments?
I was happy to see the planning commission has their survey out, so just encouraging people to fill out that survey about ADU interest in the city of St. Joseph.
Yeah.
Happy we're moving that ahead.
Yeah, great shout out. Great. I don't have anything either, so we will wrap up our meeting at 6:55 p.m.
It's in an hour in July.
Oh, did somebody give Abby a copy of that letter?
Yeah, my-